Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hello and welcome once again to Cheap Shot Entertainment. 3, 2, 1. Hello.
This is awesome!
Hello and welcome once again to Cheap Shot Entertainment. This is another retro review for some wrestling goodness. We're going through the year 2000 currently. It's been 20 years since that fateful year, the Millennium Year, the year of very much WWE juggernauting its way through the wrestling competition. WCW was not really competition by this point, although they were still there, and so were ECW. By this point, the following year, they would be liquidated and Vince McMahon would have bought all of their archives and things. So this is the King of the Ring 2000. It was on the 25th of June 2000, which is when you are seeing this video. Obviously not the year 2000, the year 2020, exactly 20 years after the show happened. And boy, it's a good one. For a lot of the time for good reasons, a lot of the time for very bad reasons, overbooked and just ridiculousness. Of course, the King of the Ring at this point was a full-on tournament, so you had qualifying matches, and to win the tournament you'd have to wrestle 3 matches in one night. Often that would lead to a lot of screwy finishes. It didn't in this one. It would lead up to a lot of roll-ups, but we all know they're the most devastating moves in professional wrestling today because they can come from anywhere. It's not just like an RKO, it's a full-on roll-up. We've got JR and the King on commentary in the Fleet Centre in Boston, Massachusetts. I did try and spell Massachusetts. I just ended up putting it MA because it wouldn't do its thing where it keeps changing the words that I type and putting them differently. So it wouldn't actually tell me how to spell Massachusetts. So I just put MA. And there you go. Like I say, King JR on commentary, and we get straight into this one with a quarter-final match for the King of the Ring. We see Rikishi, the new Intercontinental Champion as of SmackDown the Thursday before. Who he beat was in fact Chris Benoit for that title, and that's who he's going against today. Today, not today, literally, but that's who he's going against in the King of the Ring. So we see this rivalry flourish. You know, like I say, Benoit's a bit annoyed that his title was taken away from him on the SmackDown before the King of the Ring. So he focuses heavily on the arm that he injured on that fateful night, and that would break down into a miscommunication when he can't force the submission from Rikishi. Rikishi remains very, very strong, and he's booked very strong throughout this event. Incidentally, you will see a picture all the way through this this review of this match that is quite interesting. I'm sure you'll agree. It's when the WWE Network decided to buffer in the middle of that particular shot. Yes, very, very good buffering there. So he can't beat Rikishi. He gets the chair. He attacks Rikishi. Benoit is disqualified. Like I said, there's not many screwy finishes, but this is definitely one of them. However, it does further their storyline. So WWE in 2000, they knew how to tell a story, and they knew how to continue that story very, very well. So attacks Rikishi, gets disqualified. Rikishi goes through. He continues the attack, injuring the arm further, and you can see a visible bruise on Rikishi's arm. I think that was from Thursday before, but Rikishi wins. And he goes on to the semi-final. We get the McMahon-Helmsley regime next, having a chat about their upcoming championship match. It is a 6-man tag match with the proviso put in by Linda McMahon that whoever pins, if either The Rock, Undertaker or Kane pins one of the members of the other team, it doesn't have to be Triple H, who is the current WWE champion, then they will win the championship. Vince McMahon is very confident about this. The Rock, Kane, and The Undertaker cannot get on. However, Triple H is not quite so confident, and yeah, I can see why. But they have a chat, and we get on to the next quarterfinal match, which is Val Venus versus Eddie Guerrero. Val Venus is escorted to the ring by Trish Stratus. Business only partnership. He's got his new funky music. He's a bit more business-like in this point in time. Eddie Guerrero obviously comes down to the ring with Mamacita Chyna, who is carrying that faithful bunch of roses. Very fast-paced match this, very interesting match. Val Venus is no slouch, but Eddie Guerrero obviously is just, well, he's Eddie Guerrero. I mean, he's great. But Trish does get involved. Chyna interferes as well, getting involved, but it would be Val who picked up the victory here with a roll-up after Trish gets the distraction that she was after from Eddie Guerrero, and Val Venus would go through into the next round. And Rikishi and Val Venus have a storied rivalry as well, so they would go into the semi-final together. That would make up one half of the bracket. Pat Patterson now, we see him in the back with the wardrobe lady, choosing what to wear for his match. I will leave that to your imagination. However, he does say that he's the champ and he wants something that's slimming, and he wants something that's new, and he would certainly get that. We'll get to that later. So he's preparing for his match against Gerald Briscoe for the Hardcore Championship. Quarterfinal 3 next. It is Crash Holly versus Bull Buchanan. Crash Holly, so over at this point in time. He's multiple-time Hardcore Champion. Elroy Jetson, the Houdini of Hardcore, whatever you want to call him. Bull Buchanan, I think, probably coming off the back of his partnership with Big Boss Man at this point. No Big Boss Man in sight, and Bull Buchanan not wearing the tactical vest. Bull Buchanan absolutely dominated this match. He was on top all the way through. One little mistake let Elroy get the victory with a victory roll pin, and it's the most devastating move in professional wrestling today, the surprise roll up. So Elroy, or Crash Holly, goes through to the semi-final, where he will meet either Kurt Angle or Chris Jericho. So they would get a decent match. After we get to see Linda McMahon for the first time in this pay-per-view, and she talks to her husband Vince, who questions why she would question his intestinal fortitude in making decisions, because he is the CEO. But Linda McMahon is the COO, so I think that's right. At this point in time, last quarterfinal match with the King of the Ring. This one did get a bit of time, and there was no real screwy finishes here. It's Kurt Angle versus Chris Jericho. Kurt Angle is an absolute machine at this point. Comes out, cuts a promo on the local sports teams, and any prospective young little wrestlers out there who are training, have a look at Kurt Angle, because he knows how to cut a promo, a scathing promo on the crowd in any given situation. Because obviously, 101, if you're going to be a heel, you want to attack the local sports team. And he does that very, very well. So he rags on the local sports team and says that he's going to get a beer because they're in Boston, because everyone talks like that in Boston, although that was very much a Cockney accent rather than a Boston accent. But I wouldn't stop now. And Jericho comes back. He retorts, saying that he is the king of 30-year-old virgins. Not Jericho, Kurt Angle. He's already a king. He's king of the nerds. Before being a nerd was cool. And taking advantage early on of Kurt Angle, but Kurt Angle, like I say, he's a wrestling machine at this point in time, and he comes back very, very quickly. Jericho does hit the Lion Salt with Kurt Angle very much in control of this match, and Kurt gets a foot on the ropes, so the match continues. That was a rope break in kayfabe, and in wrestling rules, of course. Yes, wrestling does have rules. And he gets his foot on the rope, and he escapes the ring before getting clocked on the outside with a triangle drop kick, one of Jericho's staples when he could actually bounce around the ring. Angle getting angry now. He's not getting his way in this match the way he thought he would, and that's when he starts turning it on. He is the wrestling machine, although we wouldn't see that persona for a good long while actually, probably another 8 years in fact. Jericho again comes back on top, and he hits Angle with a monkey flip and gets hit by a German suplex. Angle very aggressive at this point in time. Kurt Angle able to mix it up and flip things around as much as he likes. German suplex with a bridge and a kick out. Jericho gets the heel kick before another near fall for Jericho. Olympic slam is reversed into the walls of Jericho. Angle does tap at this point, but we see Stephanie McMahon coming out to the ring. What's she doing there? Start that business relationship that he and Stephanie McMahon were starting to form at this point. You know, the dissension in the ranks, you know, Triple H being married to Stephanie being a married man, Kurt Angle fancying her, who didn't. She was gorgeous, and she still is in fact. Stephanie McMahon Helmsley hits Kurt Angle with the title instead of Jericho. Bit of a mistake there. Jericho plants the lip lock on Stephanie McMahon, and obviously Stephanie McMahon is very much appalled by this. But then Angle then uses that distraction to hit the Olympic slam for the win off the assist. So we get a clean victory in this one. We only had one screwy finish with the disqualification, but it did further that storyline, so I'm okay with that. We get Angle and Crash Holly in the second semi-final. McMahon then goes to the back and gives a tactical talk to his team, Shane McMahon, his son, and Triple H, his son-in-law. We head to WWF New York. Can anybody remember WWF New York? Answers in the comments section down below, because it doesn't exist anymore. It was in Times Square. It was when WWE was really big. It even appeared in SmackDown games of the time. It was like a pub come restaurant type thing in Times Square where they showed the event live. And yeah, it was really interesting. I would love to have gone there, but obviously never got the chance before it had to be closed. Don't know what it is now, but it looked really cool when it was there. Mick Foley is there. Have a nice day. Yeah, we go on to the WWF Tag Team Champion. I'm getting confused with WWF, WWE. It was WWF at this point in time. So we go on to the WWF Tag Team Championships next. Too cool, all the champions. Not quite sure where they picked those up, but that was very cool to see. But I have heard some stories about certain Grandmaster Sexay, which I won't spoil here, but maybe we will get to hear those on the Talk is Cheap / confession sessions with the Reverend on the podcast. Bit of a teaser there. So we got, it's a fatal four-way elimination. It's Edge and Christian, the former champions. T and A. That's Test and Albert. They come out with Trish. They're still with Trish. Hardy Boys come out with Lita, and obviously Trish and Lita would get involved at this point. And Too Cool, which is Scotty 2 Hotty, and Grandmaster Sexay. Incidentally, I noticed when they came down to the ring, they were doing all their shtick, and they were dancing, and they were doing that, and they were doing, you know, that, and then I'm going to stop and listen, because Scotty 2 Hotty was wearing his belt upside down, and I thought that was absolutely hilarious. First time in many times watching this pay-per-view that I've actually seen that little detail. Absolutely hilarious. But the rules of this match, after ENC addressed the crowd with their 5-minute pose, or 5-second pose rather, with the Boston Red Sox and whoever it was that they were playing baseball against, and the 5-second pose with a pitch and goes through his legs, and I thought that was hilarious. Again, absolute quality. Take notes with how to warm up a crowd if you're a bad guy in wrestling. So yeah, they addressed the crowd with their 5-second pose, and at this point it was like an attraction to itself, the 5-second pose. And they do that obviously before all the wrestlers come out. So the rules of this match: it's an elimination match. It's 2 people in the ring from 2 teams at any one time. Obviously that's going to break down at some point, and it certainly does. But we get Jeff Hardy and Albert starting the match, and Trish gets involved, which distracts Jeff and gives Albert the advantage. The test is in at this point in time. Incidentally, the champions are remaining on the outside. Very, very clever. Advantage tag to test. Who continues the beatdown on Jeff Hardy? Lita takes out Trish. She will get involved, obviously. So they have a bit of a scuffle outside, and the crowd go, "Yay, puppies!" Yes, it was the year 2000. Don't expect anything different. Jeff Hardy jumps over Albert, over a charging Albert, and hits the swanton onto Test, who has just hit a pump handle slam on Matt Hardy. This gives Matt Hardy the chance to pin Test for their elimination. So the team goes out first is Test and Albert, TNA, and one part of the, as King puts it, eye candy has gone now. So ENC take over. They get straight in at this point. ENC take over after a brief interlude from the champs. So they take over, Too Cool are in, and they really dominate this match. Then the Hardy Boys are eliminated next after a scuffle with Edge and Christian. Storied rivalry there, going years at this point. That's giving Christian the opening to hit the Unprettier to eliminate the Hardy Boys. And Lita is gone as well. She does get involved. There is a little bit of a Hurricane Rana situation thing going off there as well. Too Cool haven't really been involved in this match so far. Very, very, very intelligent wrestling by the champs. Stay outside, stay fresh. Got more of a chance of winning that way. Too Cool, fresh team. They don't really get any time to dominate this match. Edge and Christian are very much focused on getting their championship belts back. Catapult to Christian takes Edge out, with Edge takes Christian out and hits Christian low. The worm hits just as Edge and Christian are copying, imitating, taking the P out of Scotty 2 Hotty. The worm hits this time. This breaks down the match. Nearly a 3 count from a worm. Come on. And Scotty tries to get in the ring, or out of the ring, with the ref distracted. He tries to get Scotty out of the ring. Title to the back of the head of Grandmaster Sexay from Christian, from Edge rather, and Christian pins Grandmaster Sexay, and we've got a new tag team champion. As much as, you know, this match was probably a bit overbooked, it was pretty decent. You've got, you know, some really good teams in there. Again, Too Cool, I think they got the title belts just because they were over. They did the dancing thing and people enjoyed the work of Rikishi and all of that, so I think they were just on merit really. They were cool, I enjoyed them, but yeah, I think that was just one of those things. So Grandmaster Sexay is pinned after being clocked around the back of the head with the title belt, and new champs, Edge and Christian, 5-second pose. And we're on. Right, semi-final number 1 next is Rikishi versus Val Venus, a storied rivalry between these two at this point in time. Quite a rivalry. They've busted each other open, they've had battles, they've had wars. Rikishi tries to start this one fast, knowing that he's going to be on the back foot here with his arm injury. Tries to get it finished nice and quickly. But the action spills outside really quick, and there's stairs involved, there's posts involved, and a chair. And the focus is on the damaged arm of Rikishi from Val Venus. Very intelligent wrestling there and tactics from Val Venus. No doubt Trish will have been in his ear telling him to attack that arm. Damaged early in the night, Val goes up for a double axe handle, telegraphs it. He is caught into a belly-to-belly suplex for the win. We get a clean win from Rikishi. He goes into the finals. Again, I would say this is on merit, but Rikishi is actually a pretty damn good wrestler. He can move for a big man. He's 400 pounds, but he can bounce around that ring like a cruiserweight. And Trish attacks Rikishi afterwards. Rikishi goes for the bonsai drop on Trish, and that's just going to like squash her. Val Venus hits the low blow, stops that from happening, and then attacks him with the stairs to the shoulder. So this night has all been about attacking Rikishi to stop him moving on in the championship. So yeah, damaging the arm further. Is Rikishi going to be able to get out for the final? Who knows? Briscoe talks to Coach. Coach is laughing. He's like, "Don't you think this is fun?" Now that's Gerald. That's Vince McMahon. But Mr. McMahon, Gerald Briscoe is talking to Coach when the wardrobe guy says, "Mr. Briscoe, would you like frilly or crotchless pants?" Those of you in the know will know exactly what this match is. Those of you who follow us on Instagram at cheapshotentertainment will also know what I went through for this review. Semi-final number 2 next. It is Kurt Angle versus Crash Holly, and you can know which way this one's going to go. Kurt Angle dominates the match. Firm control, Crash holding on courageously all the way through. Kurt Angle's just like, yeah, you dumb boy. Hot shot and Olympic slam dispatches Crash. A valiant effort from Crash Holly, but it's not the last time we will see Mr. Hardcore Houdini. Hardcore evening gown championship match next. It's not for the evening gown championship, it's for the hardcore championship. Hardcore evening gown match. Yeah, that's a thing. But I've got to say, in the spirit of entertainment, it was quite entertaining, even though there were some things that happened that probably shouldn't have happened in the grand scheme of things. But Pat Patterson versus Gerald Briscoe, 2 geriatrics dressed in dresses and wearing women's underwear, including the bras, and they're padded, and I'm guessing one wanted to get bigger than the other, so they just kept stuffing it. I'm going to stop doing that now. So that happened, and the crowd gets on their back in this one because they are not impressed with this match at all. Looking back at it now, I probably wouldn't have been if I paid that money, but as pure entertainment value, it is absolutely hilarious. I'm not going to go through all the moves that they did, but one was a Bronco Buster. They used other things as weapons, and Crash Holly comes in to save the day. He takes out both of them and hits Patterson with a pin to win the Hardcore Championship. He scuttles off into the night. Your new Hardcore Champion is Crash Holly, as Gerald Briscoe attacks Pat Patterson going down the aisle. Incidentally, Pat Patterson won that championship by getting Gerald Briscoe drunk on champagne. A little bit of the bubbly. So that was like 20 years before a little bit of the bubbly. bit less actually, but yeah, entertaining, not a match at all, and it definitely was not hardcore, unless you're on certain websites and that's kind of your things. I don't judge. We don't judge here on Cheap Shot Entertainment. You're all the Cheap Shot Nation. You can enjoy whatever you like watching on the internet. On to the next match, handicap tables and dumpsters match. Yes, this was a thing as well. It started getting a bit daft at this point in time. D-Generation X, that's X-Pac, Tory and Road Dogg. Obviously D-Generation X pretty much dying a death at this point in time, although they did have Run DMC doing their music. And the Dudley Boys, obviously, where the tables come in. So in order to win this match, DX have to put both members of the Dudleys in the dumpster and shut the lid, or Dudleys have to put all three members of Team DX through tables. When you say it like that, it actually doesn't make any sense, but it's quite a simple premise and it plays to the strengths of both of them, and it's no different to doing a TLC match really, except there's a dumpster involved. We see the Dudley Boys have a table with a name on it. Sure, I've seen that more recently. Can't quite put my finger on it. It will come to me. Traditional tag rules apparently doesn't break. Well, it does break down eventually. Got to make tags, of course, because you're not going to get in to stop your partner being put through a table or into a dumpster. I don't think they really thought this one through. But the ref is dealing with Tory as the Dudleys get put into the dumpster first. Dumpster cam, DX on top. Tory distraction. She is outside the ring. She is injured apparently, and DX put the Dudleys in the dumpster. They think they win. The ref comes over to check. They're not in there. They've got little slidey doors on the side of the dumpsters. The Dudley Boys have gotten out. They've scuttled underneath the ring. They've come out the other side with a couple of chairs, of course. Dudley Boys escape under the ring, come out with chairs, take out X-Pac and Road Dogg, and this is where the crowd want the tables. Road Dogg goes through two tables, are set up on the outside in a stack, and that looks absolutely sick. X-Pac is suplexed through a table, and this leaves Tory alone to deal with the Dudley Boys. Luckily for her, DX come round just in time to take out the Dudley Boys with the chairs. They fall in the bin and the doors are shut. Would be at this point, because I forgot to mention that Tory does run away from them and she tries to hide in the dumpster. So as the Dudley Boys, so I can only assume this, but you should never really assume anything, the Dudley Boys fell on top of Tory because she appeared from back out of the dumpster with the Dudley Boys. But she does genuinely look quite injured at this point in time. X-Pac is suplexed. So DX hit the double chair shot and the lid is closed. Tory is in the dumpster with the Dudleys. X-Pac and Road Dogg receive a couple of 3Ds for their trouble, and Tory is powerbombed eventually through the table with her name on it. So DX win this match, and Dudleys get what they wanted, to put Tory through that table. Yes, this was, in fact, the year 2000. So, Kurt Angle now is talking to Michael Cole and says that he is the only true champion, and of course the King agrees. Do you want to see King Rikishi or do you want to see King Kurt? Which one has a better ring to it? Well, we're talking about Rikishi. Anyway, final of the King of the Ring tournament, the winner to be crowned on Raw the next night. Now, I'm probably going to go and watch that because I always like to see coronation ceremonies with the King of the Ring because I find them very interesting. You know, Stone Cold Steve Austin, John 3:16, right down to Owen Hart being the King of Hearts. And if you haven't seen the Dark Side of the Ring episode for Owen Hart, prepare yourself. It's a tough one, but it's really good. So we get Rikishi versus Kurt Angle in the finals of the King of the Ring. Rikishi comes out strong on this one again, knowing that he's got to go hard on this one because Kurt Angle is very capable of putting him away with pretty much any move that he likes. So Rikishi coming out fast. He attacks Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle basically gets a stink face. Angle hits a low blow just as he's trying that. Angle, very much the aggressor here. He can taste that crown and the scepter and the cape. He gets a immediate jeopardy in Rikishi's arm. The stink face is followed up immediately with an Olympic slam. So Rikishi so far gone in putting his arse in Kurt Angle's face that he doesn't notice. Kurt Angle gets straight back up and deliver the Olympic slam, and Rikishi kicks out. He's getting really frustrated at this point. Sunset flip on Rikishi, reversed into a sit down, and this is put into a pinning situation. Basically, Rikishi sitting on Kurt Angle's chest. Angle hits a belly to belly. Rikishi trying to go up top. Now, if you're a 400-pound man, you don't go to the top rope. It's pretty much a standard thing. Only certain people could ever do that, Bam Bam Bigelow being one of them. I've never seen Rikishi go to the top rope and do something interesting from there other than fall down. In this case, it was really impressive. Kurt Angle does his charge up the ropes, manages to grab Rikishi, locks the hands round his waist, which is really quite impressive. Rikishi tries to get out of the move without by headbutting Kurt Angle. Obviously, all Samoans have really hard coconut type heads because it's WWE, and he belly suplexes Kurt Angle off the top. Now, Kurt Angle belly suplexes Rikishi off the top. I'll get it right. In a really impressive display of technique to pick up the win. Kurt Angle is now King Kurt, and he is your King of the Ring 2000. Apparently he continues his Antarctic rookie year. I don't know why Apple feel the need to change my words into things that don't make any sense. So Kurt Angle's rookie year, really good. He wins pretty much every title. By the end of the year he is the WWF champion, but we're going to go through the year 2000. You're going to follow that journey with Cheap Shot Entertainment. We're going to go into the WWF Championship match next, which would have connotations on the last match as well. Obviously Kurt Angle, King of the Ring at this point was quite important. It was as important as Money in the Bank. Whoever won the King of the Ring got an automatic title shot. They don't do that anymore, although the current king did actually get a title shot. But it used to be, it used to be a thing where you got your title shot if you won the King of the Ring. And it was good, people looked forward to it, and it was a proper pay-per-view and everything. So we get the championship match next. As I explained earlier, it's a 6-man tag match. It is Vince McMahon, Shane McMahon and Triple H, who is the current WWF champion, versus The Rock, The Undertaker and Kane. Of course, The Undertaker costing The Rock the championship the month before, on the 21st of May, at Judgment Day, making his triumphant return. So basically, if any of the challengers get the pin, and it doesn't matter who they pin, they win the championship. Pyro hits before the match as Kane comes out, so we know he's not going to be winning that championship because he also hits his pyro in the ring. And if there's one thing that WWE fans know, if Kane hits his pyro, he's not going to win. So, according to JR, Kane wants to be the WWF title. Well, Kane, you did very well for yourself being the mayor of Knoxville. But one day you may just grow up to be the WWF title. Maybe. Kane and Shane start, and they have a very varied rivalry over the last couple of years. Kane dominates and doesn't want to tag. Where's this going? Of course they don't want to tag, they want to be the champion. And tag until The Rock tags himself in. Dissension in the ranks already. Vince McMahon's plan going to plan on the outside. Taker and Kane get on as Kane breaks up the pin by blocking the Undertaker's chance of winning the championship, of course. The Rock low-bridged and attacked by the regime because, you know, he Irish whip, low bridge, he goes out, blah blah blah. Kane and Taker come round to make the save. So there is a little bit of teamwork going off there. Make the save. Table is cleared by The Rock. He's really annoyed this time. He's like, yeah, look at my eyebrow, I'm People's Champion. The table gets cleared and this match breaks down from here. Pedigree in the ring, which is broken up, and The Rock still doesn't tag. Triple H takes advantage. Shane floating like a bee and stinging like a butterfly in the middle of that ring until The Rock comes back. Takes full advantage of The Rock. Triple H hitting a cheap shot. Yes, they said it. Cheap shot over the ropes as well to The Rock, dropping his throat over the top rope. Another near fall and a kick out by The Rock. Triple H up top gets caught, but manages to reverse an Irish whip into a neck breaker. The regime very much on top in this one. Taker and Kane taking out the McMahons again. So again the match breaks down and attacks Taker and stops the People's Elbow with a choke slam. That is Kane. He stops The Rock from hitting his People's Elbow, hits a choke slam and takes out The Rock. Triple H is like, yeah, well done buddy, thank you, taps him on the shoulder. He gets a tombstone for his trouble and breaks up the pin. So the pin is broken up. Choke slam from the top through the table to Shane. This was awesome. Shane up top. Undertaker comes around and gets on the apron. The table is clear. The announce table is clear. Undertaker grabs him, jumps off the apron, slams Shane through the announce table. It was awesome, and you could only expect Shane McMahon to take a bump like that. So there you go. Shane is out. Triple H is out. Kane is out. Undertaker is dealing with other people. Vince tries to hit the People's Elbow. He's like, hey pal, I'm going to win this match. And he tries to hit the People's Elbow. The Rock hits the Rock Bottom and Vince gets pinned. The Rock is your new WWF champion. Who knew? So yeah, I mean, what a story. This is being told here, you know, from Triple H to The Rock to the Vince to the McMahons. Wow. So crazy. So the title once again bounces back to The Rock in this storied rivalry, not rivaled story. Is that even a word? I don't even know. Answers on a postcard. Anyway, that was King of the Ring 2000. A lot to get through in this pay-per-view. Really good. There was some really bad moments. The hardcore evening gown match, as funny as it was, and as entertaining as it was not good. The best thing part about that match was Crash Holly coming in to take the title again. So yeah, the year 2000, we're still pumping along. That was June. We're going into July next, and we're rolling on towards SummerSlam 2008. Absolutely stacked card on that one. So if you enjoyed this video, then you know what to do. We're on YouTube. Go and follow us on social media and do all that kind of stuff. You are the Cheap Shot Nation. I will see you next time for more retro reviews on Cheap Shot Entertainment. I've been your host, Luke, and I'll see you next time. 5 second pose.